But anyway, Civil War. It is still the afternoon of September 8th. This is early afternoon. It's like 1 p.m. or so. You've been hit by basically like a sort of summer squall that swept across Texas, and it has fucked up your camp pretty badly. So both of your units have been damaged somewhat, and as the kind of the storm recedes into the east, it's kind of going past. You can see basically again just it's literally a wall of water that is moving across the plains. You kind of look over your camp, and it is basically mud up to your knees. There are horses that are basically up to their whatever knuckle. I don't know. I don't know horses up
Horse
to their
knees.
ankles.
Yeah. I think those are hot.
Yeah, fetlock, something like that.
Yeah, some horse shit.
Yeah, but it's basically like the very 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 dry sort of parched Texas ground just absorbed all that water instantly, and now it's basically like 8 inches of muck everywhere. So in like different region or different regiment camps, you can see kind of nearby various levels of damage. And it's bad. Pretty much no tent is left standing. A lot of the horses from other cavalry regiments are just scattered all the way across the sort of plain that you're in. And it's pretty bad. You've got like a whole day of basically cleaning this up before you can even do anything else. However, on the plus side, you don't have to worry about fresh water probably for the next several days because you have anyone who had their head about them during the thing basically opened up any receptacle and filled all of the water that they possibly could. So there's plenty. You're well supplied in water. There's kind of other stuff that might need some investigation though. So what you want to do?
I hope the particularly thirsty soldiers stood with their mouth agape.
Yeah. I mean, that's just training, really.
Well, I guess I spent the afternoon getting my guys together.
Okay.
I'm sure everyone's still here. No one's dead.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Go ahead and roll a cohesion roll. Yeah, I think First California Volunteer Cavalry. Okay, well, your cohesion's still good.
Yeah, I can allocate my manpower to it too. So.
The pressure levels are gone because of the storm, so that you don't have to worry about it anymore. However, you are at one level of pressure because of your stamina being low, and one level of pressure because of your morale being quite low. So, yeah.
All right, so I have 2 levels of pressure. I'm rolling 7, 1 skill.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. What did I do wrong here? Oh no, it worked.
It just took a little while. Okay, you have most of your regiment is around. Some of them are having to be dug out of the wreckage of their tents, like just dragged out, just like you were with your cat earlier. They're just being like, "Just let me die, boys." They're being hauled out of the muck. Oh, excuse me.
I mean, I'm not averse to telling the general like I need a week to get my shit together.
Yeah. So probably the first thing that both of you are gonna have to do is basically what you just did. Is like try to get everybody assembled, see what the damage is, and give an honest report, to General Grinding about what you need to get everything back together. Because obviously this is, again, you've taken more damage, and this has done more, more damage to the division than anything the Confederates have done so far. That also brings up another thing. You have thousands of prisoners who were left out in the open, and you didn't have enough tents or anything to house them in the best conditions.
Are they alive?
That's a good question. Someone should probably check on that. So I'm going to say with the 3 Twigs, you're probably going to take an hour or 2 to sort of get your men up and kind of not necessarily presentable, but at least in the same place so that you can count them. Yeah, and this would include tracking down the majority of horses. So like trying to get everybody kind of like obviously not parade ready, but at least like muster ready. So they should have rifle, 20 rounds at least of ammunition, their sword, a horse with kit and tack on it. So it's probably going to take an hour or two at least to get that kind of organized in any fashion.
I think I will also be calling like the assembly and
Okay.
put for those, and I'll put my manpower into cohesion.
Okay.
See what we can do.
Hang on, I gotta check the laundry real quick.
Sure. Alrighty.
Oh,
Yeah. With 5, your men are actually in slightly better condition. Probably for the most part because you didn't have to chase after horses. Would probably be one of the big things. So yeah, just being left to their own, like taking care of themselves, they were mostly fine. So like you guys are up and about. You got like 25 minutes. You've got a pretty respectable kind of like mustering ahead of you. So it's like people are kind of still relaxed a little bit. Like this isn't like you know a parade. They're not at polished boots or anything like that. But they are assembled, armed, more or less. If they needed to, they'd be ready to march within probably about 25 minutes. The camp behind them is still kind of a mess, and you still have to like go and dig out all sorts of stuff. But in terms of just raw assembly, they're up and ready to go in about 25 minutes. So you and your regiment can just basically sit there and watch the rest of the army slowly pull itself together. But yeah, you are one of the first sort of regimental sized organizations that is like in any way kind of presentable or useful.
I think if that's the case, I would like to either send a detachment or check on the prisoners, see if they're still there, or how many
Yeah.
of them have been hit by lightning and are comically blackened and frizzed out. Like an officer who got hit with like his sword they let him keep or something.
So yeah, you actually before you can even like do that on your own, General Grinding comes by on a horse that it used to be a nice gray and now it is brown because of all the mud. It looks grumpy, looks as grumpy as General Stump Grinding does, and he yells, like calls over to you, basically to do exactly what you were going to do. So he says, Regis, go on check on the prisoners. Because you are conspicuously the only sort of organized regiment in the entire camp. So this might be your next couple of hours is you get to do everything. So yeah, you can go either like you can just take a detachment with you if you like.
Yeah, we'll do that.
So what it looks like is that the prisoners had kind of a bad time, like a really bad time. Some of them are dead. Some of them were either drowned or struck by, flying objects, or who knows, maybe surreptitiously beaten to death, something. I don't know. They're just like there are not many, like a handful, who have died. Many of them, maybe they had wounds and stuff that got exacerbated when they were left out in the weather, or struck by hailstones, that kind of thing. The rest of them are obviously pretty ornery and mud caked, and hurt and uncomfortable. And there is a guy who sort of peels himself off from the muddy tangle of the rest of them. And as he sees you come up, so how are you? Are you just like walking? Are you on your horse? What do you how do you personally look as you're approaching the prisoners here?
Well, I mean, I'm with this detachment, and I think I still have quite a bit of mud from shoving that wagon where I face planted.
Yeah.
Is I think where I personally took that wound.
Yeah.
But we're all kind of still in the same camp area, so yeah, no real need for probably a soaking wet, smelly horse.
Right. Okay. But yeah, so this guy stands up and he takes off his hat, and you sort of wonder at the point and purpose of the hat because it is mostly mud and everything underneath it is also mud. So like just head to toe, he's like He's got like a stripe wiped away from his eyes and like his mouth, and like that's it. He looks like what's his name? Walker Texas Ranger guy. Like as he kind of came up from the mud, that stupid Vietnam movie or whatever he was in. Just,
Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris, that's the one.
Yes, in one of the greatest pieces of cinema of all time, Missing in Action 2, The Beginning. Yeah. It is one of my favorite movies.
Well, I'm glad I used that reference then.
I hope
that's what the guy looks like.
Speak ill of it.
Yeah. He doesn't have the red headband on his head, though. He's got a little kiki kerchief around his neck. It is also completely caked and soaked in mud.
I hope he's not going to be as bad of a prisoner as Chuck Norris was. They kept him for a long time after Vietnam ended, and then he went back and rescued the rest.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure there was an Unsolved Mysteries episode about that exact situation. About my son was kept prisoner with Chuck Norris. Because that's like there's 3 types of stories that are in Unsolved Mysteries. There's the army is terrible and will abuse you and all of your children. It's mostly children.
That's not a mystery.
It's like, what happened to my son in the army? And they're like, well, he probably died, and then the army covered it up for no reason. That's most of them. It's don't trust cops. That's number 2. Because all the mysteries are basically a result of police incompetence, like bar none. And then there's like UFOs and ghosts and stuff. And that's the three legs of the stool that is Unsolved Mysteries. Anyway, with that tangent aside, so yeah, this guy peels himself off from a group. The rest of them kind of stand up, and they kind of uncomfortably wipe themselves as much as they can. And this guy introduces himself. He says, "Sir, my name's Captain Jeff of the Texas Rangers, and I've got..."
Not only do I do that, but Regis does that as well. Audibly guffaws at Captain Jeff.
Well, sir, I'm Captain Jeff. I'm an experienced Texas Ranger. I've been posted to West Texas since the inception of the state. Sir, I have complaints about the way we have been treated, and I would like to see your commanding officer, sir. I don't imagine that you're a man of any sort of rank. I'd like to talk to a general as soon as I can.
I am manager.
What?
Anyway, yeah, that's what he says. He wants to talk to Stump Grinding or somebody above Stump Grinding.
Well, we do have a chain of command, and he will file his report first to my sergeant who's with me. I don't even want to listen to him.
All right.
Well,
yeah.
Ranger Jeff,
Captain.
You can start with this aide-de-camp. Let him know your complaints in detail.
Well, sir, this will be going on the complaint list as well. He gives a report to the adjutant.
Make sure you spell my name right.
Cassius Regis. Anyway, he gives basically a report. So he has actually gone around through most of the prisoners, and he has sort of done some of the task of finding out kind of how they're doing. So it looks like there are 10 men that have been killed as a result of the storm. And there are about twice that many that are injured in some way. A lot of them also look like their wounds that they took in the battle have been exacerbated. And some of them also look like they're already getting sick. Probably because they haven't eaten anything in days because they were expecting to get a good old fight. And then instead, they got punched in the dick by weather. So, but anyway, that's the report. The complaints that Captain Jeff gives is that none of them have blankets, none of them have been fed, none of them have tents. Many of their sick and wounded have been ignored, and they have many complaints about their rough treatment at the hands of the Federals. Much grumbling.
Well, duly noted. We'll pass this along. Perhaps we can, with some of my detachment, find those who have been injured or are still injured and point them in the way of the medical tent.
Sure.
Under a couple of guard, because I think we probably still don't even have all of our men treated, and we were treating both in the medical tent. So it's just a matter of resources and time. We were also hit by this storm, so I'm not too excited about this kind of complaint, but like, it's noted for the record.
Mm. Yeah. So he after all that, he just sort of like, you know, stands with his hands on his hips, and he watches you go as his men are sort of being filed away toward the medical tent. Do you want to go check out the medical tent and see sort of what its situation is?
First I'd like to finish making sure that, like, at least all the prisoners are in a somewhat confined area.
Yeah.
As some sort of organization, that they're not wandering off or wandering into unattended stores. I'd like to make sure there is a guard posted, since everyone is so disrupted by the storm, as everyone's still getting ready. If it's just a stopgap that it has to be my men who are ready, so be it. But that's kind of priority one. The wounded have shuffled off towards the medical tent. The rest of them we're going to keep an eye on until we can have some semblance of.
All right, yeah, go ahead and this is a detachment roll, so roll a 4, and then add your skill of whatever you're going to be using to sort of help sort this out. You can also just have your adjutant do it, and they would also be rolling, I think, at a 4. I need to double check.
All right, well, we'll have my adjutant to it. Are they competent?
Yeah. So they'll have a skill of 1 they can add.
Okay. Oh,
there it is.
Oh,
yeah, it's just taking a bit.
These accountants are getting slow.
That's another complaint.
On doing the math.
Another complaint on the list from Captain Jeff. Rolls are taking too long, sir. So your adjutant kind of gets everybody together. He gets he has his detachment and everything. He like moves the kind of prisoner pen from where it is like 20 yards to the left, where the ground is like slightly less beat up and muddy. So at least they're kind of like, rather than being like 4 or 5 inches deep in mud, they're only a couple inches deep in mud now. It doesn't super improve things, but they are at least moved. They are kind of penned. You have, you know, armed guards on them. You've relieved the other guys who were there with their own regiments. They kind of go jogging back to make, you know, to sort out the wreckage and everything else. Yeah. So yeah, that's all set up.
I guess also, if my adjutant is set with that, maybe just I personally will go check in on the wounded in the medical tent and make sure they've made it over there and see what else can be done. Since this is just a detachment, I might have, you know, at least one more detachment of men who are back at our regimental camp.
Yeah.
So we'll see what else needs to be done.
Yeah.
How's the medical?
Medical tent, predictably. I mean, it's not one big tent, right? It's not like a huge marquee tent. It's like 5 or 6. Yeah, it's like 5 or 6 tents kind of put together into a pavilion of sorts. Most of it is horizontal on the ground. It's actually like part of it came down. People have spent the last hour or so sort of like getting everything kind of back, and they're just about to raise it back up. You can see somewhat comically there are still like cots, and underneath the cot there are still clearly people shaped lumps under the canvas because they couldn't move them before they were trying to get everything back up. It doesn't look like it's been too damaged. This is just sort of like a bunch of the tops kind of got swept away, and you know, they kind of spent the whole time trying to batten down the hospital tent in particular, because obviously it's pretty important. But it looks like it was competently done, and there hasn't been like, it wasn't struck by lightning, it wasn't carried away in a tornado. It's okay. You don't think too many of the wounded people have been hurt or killed as a result of the storm. Thanks to whoever kind of organized the initial effort. But yeah, they could just use a hand getting everything pitched back up. I'm not going to make you roll for it or anything like that, but you know, you just stand there with a pole and sort of raise it up so they can.
Do as Chief Cornstalk has taught us. Stand up.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's being done. Any of your men who are kind of in there, sort of like Colonel, and you know, everybody's getting their war remedy, their shot of whiskey and quinine. They're pretty happy.
I mean, I would also like to shake the wounded's hands if they're not too wounded in the arm.
There are a couple of times where you go over and thrust your hand out and realize that they only have, you know, a stump of their right arm, but
pat on the other shoulder.
You move quickly past that. This is not your first time, but yeah, most of the kind of the major triage had already been sorted out by the time the storm hit, because it was a few hours obviously after the action. So yeah, they good having a competent medical staff. And when I did my behind the scenes roles for this, I did not fail hilariously badly, at least not in this particular instance. Who knows what else? But yeah, that is okay. Go ahead.
I'd also like to very conspicuously in front of these bedraggled rebels who are, you know, limping or crutching their way over, but very conspicuously in front of them, tell one of the medical orderlies that, like, get these men some medical attention. They've been caught out in the storm, and see to it that they are treated well.
Okay. So the medical orderly
as much for the Confederates as telling the orderly.
So the medical orderly that you are talking to, the nearest one, is a black man. He's one of the recently emancipated black men who's been following the division, who's been basically, you know, with nobody else kind of giving any orders about what they should be doing. The medical staff, which is at least halfway run by a free black woman, has been taking a lot of them in and having them work as orderlies and as medics and whatnot. So, yeah, he seems fine with that. He's sort of gesturing for these Confederates and everything to be led along to cots, and you know, probably past the the surgeon's table with its bloody saws and things like that. So he's having a whale of a time at it. Being, you know, you've had occasion before in your life to be scrupulously polite to people that you don't actually respect, and you can. It doesn't take much to sense that coming from this orderly who is now in a position of power. And they're like 2 or 3 more guys come over, and a couple of like the guys laying on, like the wounded guys laying on the cots, kind of like prop themselves up on their elbows. They just watch. And the Confederates look a little upset about it, but fuck them.
Well, give them another. I wish there was a vial of leeches to toss at them. Like, put your own on, boys.
Yeah. No, nobody makes a really big fuss or anything, but you know, a couple times they do sort of like move back,
recoil at the touch of...
yeah. I mean, yeah, and like a few of them too, like try to be chummy, right? Because like one of the big differences between growing up in the North and growing up in the South is like in the South, at least, like you see black people everywhere all the time. And so like there is some level of kind of like expected comfort, but they're doing it in a way that's like trying to reassert the old relationship where it's like I'm a person that you must respect, otherwise who knows what'll happen. And the orderly is clearly not having any of that. And so it's like it would be fascinating to just watch the entire afternoon of this if you wanted to. But yeah, there are plenty of like armed and uniformed Union guys laying around that, you know, Confederates try anything, it's just another chalk mark for the casualty report. But yeah, so yeah, just helping out with all that. That's it gets just about the point where Twiggs, your men are now finally kind of up and mustered, and everyone's got at least one horse. Most of them have their tack on their saddles and all that. Most of them still have their weapons, most of them have both. Some of them have just one. Some of them have like a rifle and an empty scabbard, and some of them have their sword and not the rifle. You'll find them. You'll find them in the mud sometime.
Those are important.
Yeah.
And expensive.
Yes, but yeah, they are mustered and ready to go. Lieutenant Albert Hesh, unrecognizable, covered as he is, head to toe in mud, gives you a brisk salute as you come over, and reports that his troop is armed and assembled.
All right. I get a report. I just figure out who needs what and what needs happening, and then I start passing that out to whatever officer, whatever the established procedure is. But we just got to get by a bunch of shit and we keep doing it.
Yeah.
So we're done.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and so as you see the your brigade general coming by, so he's been kind of in and out and everything, and he finally rides over, and Colonel, what you got for me?
I give him a report of what our condition is. We're obviously not combat ready, but I try to summarize it because I'm sure he's got other companies to go handle.
Mm-hmm.
So things are bad. Things aren't great. We could function, but it's not optimal.
Yeah, understood. You're doing a sight better than at least some of the other brigades. Listen, we don't know if it's still going on. It'll happen maybe if we can get everything sorted out the next couple of hours. But General Wurster would like to extend a formal invitation for you to come to dinner tonight in his marquee. So you and any officer of your choosing, it's all the regimental leaders will be expected to repair to dinner at the sound of the call. So keep that in mind. And honestly, between you and me,
Thanks, sir.
let me know if it's more important to get your regiment back up in order, because it seems a bit frivolous to me. But you didn't hear that from me, and he rides off.
Of course not. I gotta look up that guy's name. I'm bringing what's his name to make a statement.
Hesh.
Was it Gawain Lecoq or was it Hesh?
Which one?
The one who got in a fist fight.
That's Hesh.
Hesh. I bring Hesh.
Yeah. Yeah, Hesh is also the guy who descends from one of the Brunswicker regiments in the American Revolution, and he descends directly from the guy who bayoneted his own colonel. So, yeah. So yeah, that's Rupert Hesh. So yeah, you can bring him. He's also like one of the most put together men in your regiment right now. He actually has horse, tack, including saddle. He's got his rifle. He's got his sword. He is ready. Everything's caked in mud, but otherwise it's pretty good.
I think we're both wounded too. I think I wrote him as being one of the guys wounded.
Yeah.
Well,
Pat,
you and I are on a date with the colonel tonight.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Sounds good, sir.
Prepared me at such and such a time. Gotta look halfway presentable.
Yeah. Sounds good, sir.
I'm just trusting the sergeants to handle pretty much everything because that's what their job is.
Correct. Yeah. All right. This actually, go ahead and roll labor. This is
we're not good right now. So we have a 0 labor.
Do you have? Where are your manpower points assigned?
I assigned them to cohesion for that check. I don't know if you can reassign them or not.
You can, yeah. I mean, like reassigning manpower like in battle is very tricky. You have to roll a leadership check to make sure that you can do that.
Okay.
But because you're not in battle and there's no levels of pressure apart from like
the normal,
then you don't have to actually make a check at all. You can just instantly reassign it.
All right. So I have a 3 base. Can I use proletariat, and does independent sergeants help me at all here?
Independent sergeants is going to give you a automatic success. And yeah, I would say that your proletariat would be the skill to roll for this one.
All right. So with the auto success, we got a total of 3.
All right. Yeah, like you expected, it's going to take quite a while for you to get your kind of regiment back up to snuff. Um, so I'm going to say with this roll, this is actually going to represent uh, the basically the rest of the afternoon until like chow call, and
Yeah.
you are like your regiment. Um, you're going to get 1 point of your attributes back. You can put it wherever you like.
All right, we're gonna recover our offense, digging rifles out of the mud.
Okay, probably wise.
Yes, since that seems to be our job.
Yeah,
Dudes.
something like that. So yeah, your stamina does not return. However, because because you are ideologically committed, and because you have also worked right alongside them for the past several hours, you're going to recover 2 points of morale because you took a pretty big morale beating um, because
We
of the
did.
storm, because I think some of the risks you took in the battle. So you're going to recover 2 points of morale, and so you are no longer going to have a point of pressure against you in the. Well, you're going to lose the 1 point of pressure. Your men are actually still pretty tired.
Yes.
You also physically are quite tired. So what this is going to do, on the one hand, you might have to roll some focus checks during the dinner to stay awake. But also, when you go to rest later tonight, you're actually going to have a +2 successes to your rest roll because all of your men are fucking exhausted.
Good.
Yeah. So yeah, your men have basically like they haven't slept in like 24 hours at least now. You personally and several of your men, even though you told them not to, fought in the Forlorn Hope, and then you fought to defend the battery, and then you got hit by the storm, and then you've been working basically ever since. So you're gonna be absolutely fucking bone tired by the time you go to sleep, and so that's gonna actually help your recovery later. But yeah,
right.
so that is your afternoon. Just digging rifles out of the mud. All right. Cash Regis. Once you arrive back on the you also hear from your brigadier general. Stop grinding comes by and says, once again, General Wurster, the division commander, has formally invited you and one of your officers of your choosing to a formal repast tonight, whenever the fuck the bugle happens to call, because we're not sure. Because he sort of just gestures around to the state of the camp, which is kind of slowly being reassembled.
I would immediately like to spend my afternoon finding a nice dish to pass.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea.
I would like to impress the other officers and impress them that my regiment was fine. So I will have a nice casserole to bring in.
I would love in the War from the Inside, the Civil War memoir I read recently. There's obviously like it's one of my favorite war memoirs I think I've ever read. I've read lots of them, mostly because it's so focused on food, and even because like the guy he wrote it in the 1890s, looking back on his experience in the war and rereading his diary. And so he even like notes a couple of times like, boy, I must have been really hungry. I don't remember the hunger that much, but like reading my diary again, it's like every single day I'm obsessed with food. Anyway, he mentions lobscouse at one point, which was actually like a Royal Navy dish. Um, of it's again some sort of like casserole, like this horrible kind of gluey kind of.
Sticks to your ribs.
Yeah, one of those. So yeah, you could probably make a lobscouse if you really wanted to. Maybe one of your officers is actually like was formerly a cook, like in the mining camps or something like that.
Cookie. Yeah.
Cookie. So yeah, I would say I'd say probably this would be an all-in, or personal
Yeah, I
magnetism.
want to spend an inordinate amount of time,
Yeah,
continuing my circuit around the camp, looking for
yeah.
these ingredients and possibly someone to help make this.
Yeah, I would basically say this is a charm and either an all-in or personal magnetism roll, because you basically going around camp and seeing who has food that isn't covered in mud, and if you can have it.
I just rinse off your potatoes.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't do super well.
It's the thought that counts.
What you end up
I
finding
won't
is
show up empty-handed to the dinner party.
no, of course not. You're not going to show up empty-handed. You do find a couple of sort of like somebody pulled up from the mud, like some like sort of salty Texas river catfish that they were planning on consuming, and they don't look super healthy or very good. But it is protein. It's meat. And the soldier is knows of you, has heard of you before, and reluctantly hands over these sort of scrawny, gross-looking, muddy catfish.
I will gladly trade him a copy of my best-selling autobiography.
Of course, of course. I assume that went without saying.
Do you see this? Just hold on.
Okay.
Is your animal doing something?
How do I flip my camera around? What the fuck is this cat doing? He just found an entire bag of carrots and just dragged it into this room and was like, hey, and plopped this at my feet. Like, I got these carrots.
Hey, Dad, you want some carrots? I found these in the bag.
You have yes, they're carrots. You wouldn't like them. You're a cat.
Have they ever shown interest in carrots before?
Okay, that's was not what I was expecting when like the cats just kind of orbit around me in a cloud.
Right.
I really wasn't expecting one to just be like, I got carrots.
I wonder if it's one of those things where it's like, cats just think you're a cat who's bad at hunting. So it's like, I know you eat this food. Here.
Well, and
eat.
he's the other one. This is Sullivan.
Yeah. Hey, Sullivan.
Hi, Sully.
Yeah, hello. You weird carrot nibbler.
Meow.
Meow.
So unbothered.
Sorry.
That's all good.
Real bizarre that cat found a whole, like a bag, like a third the size of the cat. It's just a whole bag. Just coughed it up at me. Unexpected. I don't even know we had carrots. Or like if they were in the fridge or where they came from.
Went to the neighbors and picked up some carrots.
Got these baby carrots. Will you make a roast to go with it?
Yeah. That weirdly apropos, because you're looking around for any food you can find. One soldier does offer you a half nibbled like corn sack bag full of carrots. Well, sir, I do have a bag of carrots. It's just clumps of mud are falling through the burlap.
I hope they spit polish it like an apple.
Yeah.
Lauren made it.
Yeah, I can tell it was hand knitted.
She's being extra goblin, so I'm holding on to her while so she's not like trying to tear Lauren's shirt off.
Yeah, extra goblin. She is in that age.
Yeah, she's discovered her goblinry.
Yeah. So my nephew, like last weekend or whenever I saw him, he does a thing now where he's got a Nintendo Switch. It's technically his dad's Nintendo Switch, but and so he's playing like Mario Kart, and he comes out to get me, and he's like, Uncle Adam, I need you to beat this level for me. I can't do it. And I was like, well, you lose, you just try again. But he's like, but I don't want to lose. So he like drags me into the room, and I'm like, I had to go through and play this level of Mario Kart for him. He's like, I can't beat this guy. He's too good. It's just like random character in Mario Kart. Like it's no harder than anything else. But
Hey, I'll have you know, when I was 6, I nearly had to go to child therapy because of a compy game that I could not beat. It was IG-88 from Shadows of the Empire. I had nightmares, and my mom is still scared of IG-88 because of how scared I was of IG-88. And if I could have had an uncle who was good at video games, I did not.
Yeah.
Absolutely did not. I would have dragged them to beat IG-88.
Yeah.
He's very scary. He has a flamethrower and a purple pulse gun.
Right.
That's
I don't
a
think I ever
deadly
played that one. I
It
definitely,
is.
I played obviously Knights of the Old Republic, but I didn't play a lot of the back.
They've done a PC port for Shadows of the Empire. You should they pick it up when it's like $4 or $5 because you could play through it and just play it through on easy in like an afternoon. It's an interesting story and kind of fun.
I don't I don't know. I don't understand this whole obsession that sort of internet culture has now with like constantly always playing everything on fucking the hardest possible difficulty. Tedious.
To show you're a real man.
What is your deal?
More carrots?
No!
Do you want to see? Look.
That cat just brought down a whole head of broccoli.
What's that, Ellie?
Don't look at me like that's a normal thing for a cat to go get.
I brought you some broccoli.
Are you some kind of French sous chef? I mean, just like a whole broccoli in here?
Where are they finding all these vegetables?
I don't know.
You want to get down?
I don't know. Huh. You have food. You got your brown pellets, Sullivan.
I don't want my pellets. I want this.
I want this broccoli.
Broccoli, carrots. I mean, maybe we should just open the door and hope we can forge something good. Like, don't come back till you find a porterhouse.
All right.
Bring a fully prepared, like, fried chicken.
Right. Oh, man, we made fried chicken a couple times last weekend. Woof. It's real good. Real good. Although
I'm
the first
sorry
time...
for these interruptions.
Yeah.
I don't know where my cat got. That's a behavior I have not seen in them until today.
Yeah.
And it's getting weird.
But yeah, so you have sort of these catfish and some carrots. All right. And half a head of broccoli that some of your soldiers are able to scrounge up. Like, tell them it's from the 1st California, sir.
Okay. Now we start putting fireworks in it.
Yes. All right, so I probably have until about 7. Okay. So what I'd like to do is sort of skip along to the dinner, which I think when, before the brief cat-caused break there.
Sorry.
All good. It's all.
Ellie lost her fucking mind too. I needed to.
Yeah. No, it's totally understandable. No worries. But yeah, so you all hear the mess call or I know they had a specific camp call for chow, basically, whatever the hell that was. But that's going out. And yeah, you see regimental colonels in their best looking uniform that they can scrounge up in a short amount of time, heading to the marquee that has been set up in basically the only dry spot that isn't occupied by the hospital. And it's sort of like this kind of like low hill that is an island in the midst of the mud that you can see kind of, going up to it. So yeah, you get there and there are like 12 colonels and like officers that they've brought with them. Obviously, Twiggs, you've got Hesh with you. Like, you both like brushed each other's uniforms off, so it's mostly blue now. The nice thing about wool is it dries real fast. You can just brush the mud off.
Can I make a California Joe a brevet ensign to bring him? It's
sure.
the only other named miner I know.
Yeah, if you want to establish another character, you totally can. I do have just a list of random names that we can use at any time. Compton Philbrick.
Okay,
Parker.
sure.
Heston
Compton
Bernthal.
Philbrick.
That sounds
pretty good. He sounds very California-y.
Yeah.
Maybe
Lieutenant
he's
Compton
leaving
Philbrick.
Stanford.
Definitely not an assumed name.
Yeah.
What did you do before you came to California? I had to reassign cattle to other owners.
Huh? But yeah, so you luckily 1st California Infantry, you happen to have probably, apart from the general who had probably like spare uniforms in a trunk, the cleanest uniform of the assembled officers. Because your regiment somehow managed to be like the least affected by everything. So yeah, there's some looks there. It's kind of like this little assembly of people outside the tent. They haven't gone in yet, and it's just you see like the regular officers, like the 6 of them or whatever, sort of over there, and then you see the volunteer officers who are in a much bigger clump over kind of the other side. And yeah, there are even the white adjutants and their Native American colonels are also there. Most of whom don't speak English, and they are standing in kind of a clump all on their own, talking to each other in Comanche and Kiowa and Apache and whatnot, sort of at a distance. So yeah, that's so. What are you guys doing as you're heading up?
We're me and fucking Ken.
Hesh.
Me and Hesh just kind of stomping.
Hessian.
There. Yes.
Yeah.
And just stomping in because there's no way we're showing up with clean boots to this.
Right.
And it's like, man, we gotta go fucking do officer shit. So let's go do officer shit.
Right.
I would like Phil Brick. Phil, what was his first name?
Compton. Did you hear that?
Say it again?
Sorry, it's Compton.
Compton.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to elbow Compton that when I arrive to and that everyone could see the fish in the little dish that I brought to him.
Yeah. So
some
a little.
How'd you think they take it from me?
Yeah, of course. Like one of the orderlies of the of General Wurster comes out and it's like, oh, well, General Wurster will be mighty pleased about this. Thank you, sir. He grabs it from you and hustles back into the tent.
My compliments.
Yeah. Yeah. So just because it's something to bring up, this whole thing is sort of precariously like, is because you brought up breveting, and like all of you are like breveted like a couple levels above your kind of official rank, and like as this division was being formed, like General Wurster is a brigadier general, and like stump grinding was like a colonel and everything, and those are like their official ranks, and everybody is like 2 or 3 levels above their actual like officially recognized pay grade, but because like none of this has actually been made official in any capacity, there's just like throw them out, right? Like technically the woman who's running the medical tent is a brevet major, and that's not really a thing that happened in reality. But also in this setting there already is a lady doctor who's a major, so it's fine. But anyway, yeah, so like the whole thing is basically running on duct tape and brevet ranks at the moment. So
I'd also like to offer, a hearty congratulations all around to various men, and perhaps find something specific to compliment that I saw on each of them, from my stroll, since I got to walk around.
Yeah.
And point out something I liked about each of the regiments.
Mm. What did you like? What did you like about the 5th U.S. regulars?
Well, their uniforms, as always, are quite sharp. Okay. And, their fighting, obviously, was exemplary in the recent battle. And I could see political aspirations for many of those men. If they ever wish to seek political office, rest assured, they could receive a hearty endorsement from myself.
What about the 7th U.S. regulars?
The same. They also were exemplary in the recent action, and in their efforts in guarding the prisoners, has made sure that we are going to be lauded with quite a bit of praise once Washington, D.C. finds out about all of this.
Yeah. So as you are kind of complimenting the 7th U.S. regulars, their colonel, you're talking to like the major, whoever it was, and he's sort of just like nodding along. The colonel kind of swings around at you, and he's got like a little bumper in his hand, and he says, "Excuse me, who are you? Are you one of the volunteers? Are you one of the California men? Well, thank you. We don't need your compliments." And he turns around.
Where were you the other night?
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Captain Pop with me in the trenches.
Well, are you accusing me of something, sir?
I'm saying you have a very exemplary junior officer corps. And your junior officers have a bright future in front of them.
He stares daggers at you. Well, not all of us can just plant ourselves in front of a battery like a sandbag, can we? He tries to move on from there.
Gentlemen, we need both sandbags and those who fill the sandbags. It's all part of the rich tapestry of Army life.
I'm like conspicuously bandaged.
Yeah, right. I mean, like you literally have an arm in a sling. And
in summation, the Army is a world of contrasts.
Right. But so you both know that guy. He is sort of a bullish regular officer. He was actually like, you get the sense from him, because you've been around him long enough, that he feels particularly chagrined that he was not breveted to some sort of brigadier generalship. And he believes that he should be the brigadier general in charge of the Blue Top Brigade, which is made up of mostly the regulars are all shoved into one brigade. He was one of like the 6 majors that all got sort of popped up into various ranks. And yeah, so he's been kind of a dick all the time, like all the time that you've known him. His name is Christopher Alderson, Brevet Colonel Christopher Alderson. So he's of the 7th, by the way. But yeah, after a few more minutes, General Wurster comes out, and somebody starts a polite sort of round of golf clap, and it goes around and everything, and I don't. Thank you. And he starts sort of just going through and doing actually basically what you were just doing, Regis, and kind of like pointing out people and kind of giving particular compliments about their regiment and their recent things. So he mentions both of you in particular, and in particular Colonel Twiggs, for again like standing like a rampart in front of the guns to make sure they weren't overrun. And there's some muttering. You can hear a little bit about that, and you can look over, and there's Colonel Alderson giving you a smile. But yeah, compliments Regis on basically having your regiment like dug out of the muck faster than anybody else, and just your men were kind of conspicuous around camp is lending a hand. If they weren't, of course, that took a lot of effort. And so he goes through this whole thing, right? And then
we are all in this together, General.
Yeah, and he says more or less like, like we took a hell of a beating that we really didn't expect, and this will likely delay our progress toward Austin. However, I would just like to, just take a moment for allow us to relax a bit. It is going to be a general order I'm going to issue tomorrow morning that we are going to stay here, or maybe not here. we're going to stay in this region for the next couple of days, and hopefully we can pull ourselves back together to get into fighting form before too long. And there's like here's and little huzzahs and stuff like that as it goes around. And then you have a dinner. So there's a big long table or several cobbled together tables. Some of them are actually camp cots that have been kind of raised up on whatever pieces of thing they can. So like you have a canvas table. You're kind of down at the end, right? But yeah, there's actually quite a spread. Quite a lot of food. So basically, some of the last of the fresh beef had been slaughtered for the dinner. There's plenty of booze going around, both from like concealed flasks and also like the general himself kind of supplying some of this stuff. And yeah, the dinner kind of goes on, continues.
And the catfish.
And the catfish.
Which was a family recipe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not my family, but a family. Certainly.
There is a very Mr. Burns eating the three-eyed fish moment when he cuts into the yeah Texas catfish. Anything you all want to do during the dinner in particular?
If that guy keeps giving Regis shit, I keep hassling. But
he does.
Stay polite.
He absolutely does. And obviously Hesh has less of a filter than you do. So he basically, he also like he's throwing barbs across the thing the whole time, and like it very quickly. Obviously, this guy's just an asshole, but it very quickly is coming down to a general discussion around the table about the differences between regular soldiering and volunteer soldiering, and obviously. The regulars have a unique perspective on events because they are career officers, right? He went to West Point. He is, he speaks French, and he, has an engineer, and basically like just the same kind of chauvinism about being a professional soldier versus being a volunteer who's only in here for some imagined ideological reason. He says
when he says like, "Oh, I went to West Point," I say something like, "Yeah, so did McClellan."
Sir, McClellan was very popular among his men.
Isn't he currently running? Is he currently running for president, or is that
I think
later?
He is. Well, it's
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is September.
Yeah.
Like this is and it's 1864.
3. Yeah. So this is this is the running season because the election is.
Well, no,
it's next year.
Yeah, it's November 64.
Yeah.
But I think most people kind of knew he was good.
Yeah.
He's trying to get strengthen the loyal Democrats.
Yes. Yep. He wanted the border states to throw in a bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, he has been replaced. Grant is now in charge. Grant also just captured Vicksburg, like in August. Like it happened very recently.
I think it'd be Meade who's in charge of everything out east at this point.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Yeah. But yeah, Grant, like the last biggest thing was that Grant captured Vicksburg, and so that is sort of the talk of the town. And like conversations about the if you look at the general officers who've been sacked so far, actually quite a lot of them were regulars, believe it or not.
Funny how that is.
But yeah, there's an extra edge to it coming from Alderson that is, for one thing, particularly sharp and particularly directed at you specifically, Twiggs. And over the course of the evening, there are more and more sort of barbs that he and a couple of his cronies kind of among the rest of the table are throwing at anyone who would basically be an out-and-out abolitionist at this time in the war. And so some of the conversation has been kind of going around what we should do with the free men that like the emancipated men that we're kind of finding as we go. There is some scrupulous avoidance of the topic of the fact that they're fighting with Indians, which is something that Hesh a couple of times goes out of his way to say like, "Oh yeah, I bet all that experience you had murdering Indians is really useful when you're commanding an entire brigade, huh?" That kind of thing. So there's like, yeah, and it's getting pretty personal.
Can I diffuse the situation by asking what everyone's post-war plans are and perhaps sharing a personal anecdote from Find Your Lump?
I think that calls for a roll because it is tense. And so yeah, if you wanna, if you like, you can seamlessly kind of turn the conversation if you like. Um, but yeah, it's gonna call for a roll.
Okay,
So
that's
I would
what I
say
would like
personal
to do.
magnetism, obviously, and charm.
What is going on?
Well, I think that was quite a folksy saying.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a moment too, like basically right after Hesh says, like, again, bet you had all that fun sitting in a sweltering, fort in southern Nevada or southern Arizona or whatever, shooting at Apache women and children. I bet that was pretty great, huh? There's just like this pause where yeah, like that hit real deep. And like Twigs, you're sitting there like, oh. Like yeah, but I mean like yeah, so his like he's clearly like willing to back his words with whatever action might be necessary, right? And he hasn't kind of gotten to the point of saying that quite yet, but that's like the next thing that he's going to say. So there's like this pause. And into the pause, Cash Regis.
I start to say something, but he. Oh.
Gentlemen, all this talk of war has the passions up. As we were just discussing, we've been doing so well, it might be appropriate to discuss post-war plans. What everyone plans to do. Come on. I'm having a hard time keeping my phone up because I had to plug it in.
Yeah.
We're good. But asking about post-war plans, or if anyone thinks that there might be business opportunities in rebuilding the South that we're currently destroying.
Yeah.
Or perhaps political ambitions of, I'd also like to butter the toast of General Wurster, because I can see him in the presidency.
Well, I don't think that my ambitions are quite so high. Might be lofty enough to head back home and open up a shoe shop or something.
Perhaps the governorship?
Well, were circumstances to call for it, I might throw my hat in the ring, so to speak. But ambitions I have are.
The men of California would be honored and would be greatly. We would be in such debt to you in both war and peace. You're a modern Cincinnatus, General Wurster.
He's clearly uncomfortable with the idea of being proffered up on the plinth of public office.
Don't put the man
capacity.
on.
Yeah.
But
that does
just yet, Regis.
I think I can read the room enough to dial it back. It's that.
Yeah. Well, it does start people talking though, and so like he's obviously like kind of abashed about it. But some people do say like, well, I plan on buying up some property in north of the state, or I plan on moving out to this place, or coming through Santa Fe. I didn't actually believe that it was anything other than a sand blasted hellscape, but it was actually quite a charming town, and like that kind of thing, right? So it steers the conversation fluidly away from what was probably getting very close to becoming a meeting into something it's a little bit less rancorous, right? People are kind of actually enjoying themselves and chatting. Obviously, there is still some tension between Alderson and Twiggs and Hesh now too, because Hesh is just
out of the table that's capital R resentfully class conscious.
Yes. But yeah, so that anything else you want to do while the dinner is rolling?
I eat a meal that someone else cooked.
Yeah.
Rules.
Yeah. Actually, nah, I'm not gonna make you. I was gonna say like I might have you like roll a focus check or two to see if you stay awake. I don't know why the camera's doing this all the time.
Well, Regis
It's
is
such a weird thing.
since socially Regis probably gives me an out because he takes over the conversation. I don't have to sit there and bust his head balls anymore.
Right.
Me and Hesh can make excuses and leave because we're probably both. Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of winds up, in a reasonable, because like you see actually quite a lot of officers who are just, because everyone has been awake now for like 36 hours. So it's people desperately want to sleep, and also they've had probably the heaviest meal they had since they started this entire campaign, and probably more booze than they've ever had since they started the campaign. So they are quite ready to sleep, like everybody is.
It's the tryptophan.
Right. In that catfish.
Did you know catfish has lots of tryptophan?
Well, sure, I did not. All right. I think what I'm going to do is, I guess we'll end it there. It's about 7 o'clock. For the next, I mean, you're going to have like 2 or 3 days of rest. So I'll basically just have each of you roll personal and then regimental focus and cohesion rolls, or like resting rolls, basically, to see if you personally and your regiment kind of recover a little bit. So you're going to have basically 2 days of not really doing anything. So we'll just do that on the Discord, and then we'll start up next time. Actually, no, let's just do it now. Go ahead and roll. Each of you roll one rest roll personally for tonight. That you'll get 2 bonus successes, each of you, because you're both bone tired and have been working forever. And
so it's a focus roll, right?
Yes. So when you're doing your personal one, it is your focus with your composure skill. You also get a success because you have that veteran trait, which means you're more hardened to the trail. So you'll be rolling. You have composure at 1, so you'll be rolling a like your focus at 7 and a 2, and a 2. So that's actually a 6.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. It's just your successes are a 6, not a 5. So with a 6, it's pretty good. You actually so tonight you personally get back 2 points that you can put back into your character. So you can either take a point of power, or you can get your athletics back up to 5. So you've actually recovered quite quickly.
I like the point of power.
Take that. Okay.
Take a point of power.
All right.
And with a 5 is what I got.
With 5, you get 1 point you put back in your character.
I would like to recover my athletics skill.
Okay.
Perfect. I was hurt the other day.
Boom. Yep. Yeah. So you both actually sleep real well. You both actually have a very, very nice sleep. Your men, your sergeants, who know you so well and care for you so well, have set up your tent for you really nicely, and you instantly just like fall onto the cot and sleep. You sleep probably 10 hours, and you're very refreshed. So go ahead and give me another. You get 2 more of those with no particular extra bonuses. Just your focus and the composure with the veteran. Added to it 2 more of those for the next 2 nights. Okay, with a 6, so that's another 2 successes.
All right, so I could do another point of power.
Yeah.
And with the 7.
Yep.
That I can do athletics.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So you are actually all recovered. So like the couple of days that you have to just rest in camp. So the camp also like the next morning moved like to the other side of that kind of hump of a hill. So you're actually in like a place that's not stamped into mud. It's been moved to kind of a drier place, and there's been a little bit of rain, and you had another thunderstorm, but it wasn't nearly as severe as it was before. And it also gives more time to like fill water barrels and stuff like that. So yeah, you actually recover a lot more than I thought. So good on you. And with a 5 and a 6, you have 3 more points that you can put back into your character. So I think your attributes are all up to snuff again. You can get your power back which you already have. Yeah, you just sleep well. You're fresh and good.
Yeah, I think I've got. Do we have a maximum on power?
Yes, only 4.
Yeah, so I'm doing good.
Yeah. No, you're doing actually fine, and like your good spirits buoy your men. So 2 more cohesion rolls from each of you for the 2 days of rest for your individual regiments to see if basically you can do the same.
And can we put the manpower into cohesion over the next couple days?
Yes. Yep. Ooh, that's man. You guys are rolling really well.
Great.
This is like never. This is kind of exactly what you needed to do too. Like this is perfect.
We did go terrible
Hey,
monsoon.
yeah, that
Yeah.
was all.
All right, I'm gonna say like
exceptional all around.
those both of those rolls, for, like all 4 of those rolls for both of you are all high enough that I think that you can do the little point dickering if you like to see exactly what. But I think you're back to full strength.
How much would that give us? So that's the 9 would give me
the 9 would
3?
give you 5.
5. Okay.
Yeah, because you want to anything above a 4 is a point to put back into your regiment. So if you had you rolled a 9, so that's 5, and then you rolled a 6, so that's an additional 2. So you have 7 points you can put back into your regiment.
And a 9 and an 8 would be.
So the morale cost is you have to spend one of your points of attributes to recover your morale. So if you spend a point of your cohesion right now at 4, that will go down to 3, but you get 4 points of morale back.
And then I can also put my recovery point into that cohesion.
Yes. Yep.
All right, so I can do that and bring my morale all the way back up.
And what is a 9 and an 8 gets me? How many points total?
That'd be 5 and then 4, so 9 total. So yeah, I'm pretty willing to say that your regiment is also back up to full strength. And then your stamina recovers automatically just on account of the rest. You don't actually have to spend that back up.
We feel great. This is fantastic.
Yeah, this is like the best couple of days that you've had. This is honestly like literally the only time that you've actually had to just pause and just wait since you started the campaign. So this is like the first time. So yeah, you both have a very, very restful couple of days. You're just kind of in your fortified camp. You do a couple of hours of drill just to give them something to do. I think I'll save the thing. I want to do one more thing.
Okay.
But I'm going to save that until next time because it might lead places. But we're going to start next time as sort of like in the middle of this nice, gentle couple of days. But one last thing. So the evening of that second day. So this would actually be, I believe, the second day is the evening of September 9th. The pickets, blow a call and everything, and they see that there are fast approaching horsemen that are coming, and one guy is bearing a guidon with a white flag on top of it.
With the what flag?
A white flag.
Okay.
So there's a general rides out and everything. They send the officer of the day for the pickets and everything approaches the guy and talks to him and everything. And they send a message back, and they want to talk to the general. So they go into a tent, they talk, and the rumor mill starts. And as you hear things as they come up from orderlies and guards who are coming off shift and everything like that, is apparently Sterling Price has arrived in Austin. And Sterling Price, rather than marching through Austin like a Confederate general might, has sacked the town.
That's weird.
Yeah. So he's come in and basically like ousted the civilian leadership, declared martial law, started forcibly conscripting slaves and citizens into his army, and sent detachments to the south, all along basically the industrial, the factories and everything like that, and started looting them to take all of the ordnance and all of the guns that he could possibly find, and he is forming them up. So these guys sort of rode out with a company of cavalry, rather than try to stay and fight the rest of the Confederate army that was being forced, and they were hoping that they would find the 3,000 or 4,000 Confederate militia that came out to challenge you guys, but found your camp instead. So yeah, so Price is in Austin and doing weird stuff.
I mean, that kind of solves one of our problems.
Mm-hmm. But yeah.
All right. Well then.
So yeah. So keep that in your hat until next time, and yeah, perfect.
Much to think about.
Yes, yeah, we'll think about that stuff, and we'll pick it up next Tuesday or Thursday.
Cool. Gentlemen.
Talk to you fellas later.
Yeah.
I'm going to hope that my cats made dinner, so I'm going to go check on that.
Yeah.
I bet they did.
All right. See ya.